Welcome to the Criminal Imagination. This series is not a tale of logic and reason. It is a descent into shadows, secrets, and the crimes that refuse to die. We will uncover the forgotten roots of crime fiction, haunted mansions, unreliable confessions, spectral witnesses, and guilty minds fractured by mirrors and blood. And through this, we will explore how fear, guilt, madness, and supernatural shaped the genre we believed we understood. This is the archive of the repressed. Welcome to Gothic Evidence Dark Inheritance, a world where justice limps behind secrets, where madness wears a velvet coat, and the blood on the floor tells stories older than law or even time. Unsolved and Undone, fragmentation in form. You are here. Good. Because some stories don't want to be solved. Some stories hide from the light, walk beneath it, and dissolve the very lens through which we try to see them. You may think you have come here for a mystery, but this series was never about solutions. This is about what remains when stories fracture, when memory is a fog, when narrative dissolves like ice in blood, when we look for an ending and are met instead with a mirror. So let's begin. We live in a culture obsessed with closure. Crime fiction as we know it grew up beside the courthouse and the gallows, built on the rational triumph of deduction, motive, sequence. But what happens when a story refuses this order? What happens when the form itself, narrative time, identity, memory, disintegrates? Welcome to the fragment. Welcome to the anti-solution. Welcome to the Gothic disarray at the heart of Unsolved and Undone. Tonight, we descend into two texts: The Invention of Morel by Adolfo Casares and Ice by Anna Kavan. Two novels that on the surface defy the detective shelf. But listen, beneath the architecture of each lies a crime, not just an act, but a condition, a rupture. In both, time loops, motives vanish, and even the narrator cannot be trusted. The first, The Invention of Morel, written in 1940, was hailed by Borges himself as perfect. Set on an unnamed island, the book reads like a fevered diary of exile. The narrator, a fugitive, perhaps a political criminal, arrives to find the island seemingly deserted. But soon he sees people. A woman named Faustine, with whom he becomes obsessed. She never sees him, she never responds, and neither does anyone else. He believes he's going mad. But no, no. Something stranger is at work. They are not people at all, but recordings, holographic projections created by a machine invented by Morel, which captures not only image and sound, but consciousness, endlessly looping. The woman he loves is long dead. He has fallen in love with a ghost on repeat. I am not mad. I know that I am not mad. So writes the narrator, an echo of every unreliable mind that has ever prowled at the corridors of Gothic literature. We never learn the crime for which he fled the society. But what is more criminal, one wonders, his past or his present? The act of watching a woman again and again without her consent. The trespass into a world not meant for him. The crime of obsession itself made eternal by technology. And here the Gothic enters through the machine, not industrial but infernal. The machine Morel builds is not just a technological marvel, it is a tomb. Everyone who steps into it is obliterated, their souls extracted, they're being burned so that the recordings can remain flawless. The original bodies rot in a crypt, the machine kills to preserve. The act of witnessing, of remembering becomes a form of violation, as though even memory is criminal. Casares' island is not a stage for logic, it's a purgatory. The narrator remains uncertain, looping in time, seeking love in a corpse of light. There is no solution, only imitation. The final pages offer no escape but replication. He rewires the machine to record himself so that he too might haunt Faustine's eternal repetition, as he says quietly, almost a prayer. When these images project my soul, Faustine will be with me. Love, obsession, death, technology, woven into a Gothic knot with no untying. Now turn the mirror. Let it crack, let it snow. Ice by Anna Kavan, written in 1967, is a hallucination masquerading as a novel. But even hallucinations have logic, just not the kind that wants to be understood. Here is a world on the edge of annihilation, a creeping apocalypse of ice, geological, global, but also personal. The unnamed narrator, a man, stalks a fragile woman across collapsing states and ruined towns. He claims to love her. He says she needs saving. But what he needs is possession. And she remains elusive, a spectre, a memory splintered across landscape. She is imprisoned, fleeing, dead, alive, passive, powerful, all at once. He follows her through war zones, through bureaucracies that echo Kafka, through memories that fragment and reassemble. Time stutters, place changes mid-scene, identities shift like fog, and all the while the ice advances. To read ice is to fall into a dream and claw for coherence, but coherence never arrives. Kavan, herself marked by addiction, madness, isolation, does not write from a distance. This is not allegory, not metaphor. This is the psyche under siege. The Gothic is not just the ruined world, it's in the language. Sentences collapse. The narrator slips between third and fourth first person. He sometimes watches himself watching. He sometimes becomes someone else. This is a novel where the protagonist cannot hold on to selfhood, let alone truth. The crime here is atmospheric. It is not what happened, it is how reality is dismantled. The woman, like Faustine in Morel, is never real to us. She is a reflection of male desire, control, guilt. She is used, erased, hunted, idealized. The narrator is her captor and her witness. And in one passage, perhaps even her murderer. The crime is the story itself. The telling becomes a form of assault, and we as readers become complicit. I saw the ice closing in, knew I would never reach her again. That line appears not once, but in shifting forms throughout the novel. This is a book of recursive horror. Each time you think you have reached a truth, it melts. Each time you think you have solved it, it begins again. This is not narrative disarray for its own sake. This is the condition of madness, guilt, fear rendered through form. Kavan forces us to ask, What if the reason a mystery is unsolved is because the self doing the solving has fractured? What if the narrator is the crime? Across both novels, we see a refusal to resolve, to restore order, to identify culprits and clean up after catastrophe. Instead, we are left in fragmentation. There is no Poirot, no court, no tidy file to close. What Casares and Kavan reveal is that the Gothic crime is not about the what or the who. It's about the unraveling of self, of time, of structure. This is the crime fiction for the haunted, for those who know that not all crimes are acts. Some are atmospheres, not all ghosts walk, some loop, not all solutions are just, some are desecrations. Let me ask you something. Have you ever read a book that didn't end but lingered, like a whisper in the corner of your vision, a shape you couldn't name but couldn't forget, a narrative you felt was true even though it shattered every rule you were taught to follow? That that is where we live in this series, in the undone, the unending. Tonight, we walk through two spectral corridors. In the invention of Morel, a man falls in love with a loop and chooses to become a ghost. In ice, a mind collapses into pursuit, and we cannot tell the difference between the apocalypse and the metaphor for possession. Both novels fracture time, both dismember linearity, both refuse answers, and in doing so, they become crimes themselves against certainty, against form, against the lie of closure. This is the Gothic of the narrative itself. This is what happens when plot rots. And so, intelligent reader, let me ask you, what do we owe to stories that will not resolve? And should we keep trying to solve them, or finally admit that they are the ones solving us? Until next time, the mirror cracked, the footprints vanished, and the scream was never heard again. This has been the criminal imagination.